What's up, gamers?
What's up, everybody? How are we?
Hi, everyone. Happy July 29th on this lovely Wednesday. We hope you're all doing super well. Thank you so much for all the hype, for all the donos right off the bat. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Happy hump day to the DGN fam. We hope you're doing very well today. And we got some really cool news going on.
We do, and our first topic of today is about Hitman 3, and Hitman 3 is a big technological leap forward inspired and driven by PlayStation 5, according to developers.
So as we know, Hitman 3 was announced last month to be coming in January of 2021 to PC, PlayStation 4, and PS5, also the Xbox One and Xbox Series X, by developer IO Interactive. We still don't know much about the improvements planned for this third and last entry into the trilogy.
Games director Matthias Engstrom talked a bit to PlayStation Official magazine about the game's technical improvements on the PlayStation 5, particularly the blitz-fast load times that inevitably encourage the game's inherent experimentation gameplay loop.
Says that Hitman 3 is going to mark yet another big leap forward for our technology, driven and inspired by the capabilities of the PlayStation 5. It is an extraordinarily complex game that has multiple systems running at the same time that support each other constantly. So having more power to play with gives us more options and lets us do significantly more.
Hitman is a game about experimentation. We invite the player into a sandbox and we let them experiment the way they want. Therefore, we see the save load as an important feature to encourage just that. The blitz-fast load times we are seeing on the PS5 makes it the perfect home for the Hitman trilogy, encouraging experimentation more than ever.
Now, it doesn't sound like there's actually going to be ray tracing reflections, as later on, Engstrom focused on praising the enhancements made to screen space reflections in this new game.
He went on to say that we've been very careful about choosing our locations for Hitman 3 to take you on a journey and for them to line up thematically with where you are in the story at the time that you encounter them. He says, I am staying completely away from spoilers, but we've got some locations that are going to be extremely memorable, and a big part of that is thanks to our environment and lighting artists.
He finishes by saying specifically, screen space reflections are truly pushed to the limit in Hitman 3. These improvements will be added across the trilogy. The other day, Dag, one of our tech artists, showed me some before and after shots on the Paris fashion show, and the difference in quality was mind-blowing.
We'll see if there's any form of ray tracing support in Hitman 3 once it ships early next year, but until then, stay tuned for more on this upcoming game.
I am a huge Hitman fan. It's been one of my favorite series. I echo Crispy's comment there on the homing briefcase. There's so many funny videos with that. There's one with like a guy on a jet ski and the briefcase is chasing after. It's hilarious. I cannot wait to see what they do with the sandbox, specifically with the next gen.
I would have liked to see ray tracing in this game, but I at least like that there's at least, this way they're dealing with lighting that's not quite ray tracing, but still seems to add, a lot to the environment. The trailer, which we played, looks really cool, looks really dark, really noir, and, the lighting plays a big role in, creating the tone and environment, and just because it's not officially ray tracing doesn't mean that they still can't make it look really nice.
Right, and that's something that I think maybe is an option that these developers have, and IO Interactive says, we could push the power of the PlayStation 5 to have ray tracing, but the screen space reflections are enough. If you look at Hitman 2, Hitman 2 is a beautiful game. If you go and you watch it and you play it, even on PS4 or PC, push it to the max, it still blows me away of how pretty it is. Mm-hmm. So if maybe they're just saying, hey, we're only going to fine-tune and polish those graphics, but add to other areas so that the power of the PlayStation 5 can fuel that. I am interested in that, and I'm technically okay with it. If part of me is in the same boat as you, I want ray tracing because it's there, but at the same time, if you're going to give me something else, I'm cool with it.
It does seem like there's still, somewhat of a trade-off between, ray tracing versus if you want over 60 frames per second. And, even though we are at next-gen technology and according to Xbox, we're beyond the limitations of what, the hardware can do, we are still limited to those factors. And, some of these trade-offs are necessary. I agree. It would be nice to see ray tracing, but if it means that there's going to be faster save and load times and no ray tracing, I think I would kind of prefer that. I found myself being more and more impatient with load times and save times the more I play games.
That is becoming a reality that I have to echo, and I'm sure those of you in chat can understand this as well. Once you start playing, even if you jump into PC gaming and you start getting games that load up really quickly, you do kind of get like this agitates. The gun mug always makes me laugh.
Yeah.
You get this little bit of like impatience that
Absolutely,
the next gen
definitely.
consoles I think are going to make us even more impatient with previous
Yeah.
gen games. But then I'm also thinking about the combinations of what they give you in Hitman. For those of you who have right to you, Dragos, the combinations that they give you in Hitman already to execute your contracts. How expanded are those going to get by the hardware of the PS5 when we know now like every NPC in a Hitman setting can literally have its own life cycle and behavior given to it?
Right. I really wonder, what they're going to do to push the limits of this hardware. When we talk about, next gen consoles, we really want to see them utilize those next gen features, which is, I think, one of my biggest criticisms of the Xbox games show, not even the games in the showcase, but the games that were revealed before. It was that these games look cool, but do they utilize the next gen hardware? Do they actually, take advantage of being on, a next gen console? So I'm excited to see what Hitman can do, because this series is just so beloved by so many gamers. And I don't think they want to I don't think they want to disappoint.
No, I don't think so either. And I think IO Interactive has delivered time and time again with the Hitman series. I think we all, whoever's played it, have been pleasantly surprised by how the growth of IO Interactive from the first Hitman on PC like 15 years ago to now. They've done so much. And, something that Dragos just said there that I'm all about, and something that you can already see in the current, most recent Hitman, is if they focus more on the AI, that's really going to add that layer of, storytelling and also gameplay that we haven't yet seen before in this series, and take it to the next level. And that's something that I'm really wanting to see developers jump in and hopefully solve that. How do we make this always feel fresh? How do we make it always feel like you could interact with anyone as Agent 47 and it'll create some sort of maybe, butterfly effect throughout the mission.
Right, and I want to see those ideas actually realized and not kind of as a gimmick. We were talking about Watch Dogs and how we are very conservative with our hype for Watch Dogs because, there's this god power where you can play as any NPC, but we're wondering if that is really a gimmick or if that is, going to be a fun, integral, cool part of the gameplay that we haven't seen before. Same with the NPCs each living their own lives. Is it just going to be something that's kind of a tick off the box? Is it something that's just pitched to stockholders to make it seem really cool? Or is it actually going to be like really fun and a really, fully fleshed feature in and of itself?
Yeah, I can't wait for them to display the first, here's a level in Hitman. Every time IO has presented Hitman prior to its release, they do like this. Here's one of the missions being carried out, and here's just one of the options that you get to pick. And then they always do like a quick cutscene afterwards of what your options could have been at, had you made different decisions. If they do come with that gameplay footage and they show and they talk about what we're addressing right now, I think this will really push even more, as to something we'll be talking about later, the interest of the PlayStation 5, because the more we see these developers actually talk about the consoles, you start to see more of them actually addressing the PlayStation 5 as the one they're excited to develop.
Right? It seems like the PS5 is the more exciting console to develop for, which is, not great for Xbox, but we do have some good Xbox news.
That is right. As we know, there were rumors regarding Halo Infinite's multiplayer saying it wasn't going to ship with the game. We finally got some confirmation on that, and multiplayer is coming to Halo Infinite on launch day.
Thank goodness. I think this is a win. Xbox needs all the wins it can get right now. So, shortly after Halo Infinite was demonstrated on July 23rd at the Xbox Series X Games event, a rumor began circulating that the multiplayer portion wouldn't be ready for launch this holiday, but it was just that, a rumor. A 343 employee has cleared things up, and you won't be limited to the campaign when the game releases.
So replying to a thread on Twitter, 343 community manager Brian Jared assured players that the multiplayer would indeed ship with the single-player campaign that was showcased during the Xbox event.
We only saw the campaign when the game was demonstrated during the Xbox Series X event, but Microsoft promised that multiplayer footage would be coming further down the line. We do know that Infinite will offer 4-player split-screen support, and that's pretty cool, and that the grappling hook will function as a pickup in multiplayer. However, for the campaign mode, the split-screen mode will only support 2 players. 4 players will still be able to play cooperatively online.
And Halo Infinite will be the first main game in the series since Halo 5 Guardians 5 years ago. 343 Industries created the new Slip Space engine to power it. The game received some criticism after its showing for some questionable visuals, particularly with the environments and enemy design. But Xbox executive Aaron Greenberg clarified that these could be improved significantly before it releases.
Which to me kind of sounds like a cop-out. It's like, we're showing you this footage. Oh, you don't like it? Well, we can improve that. And it's like, but were you planning on improving that if no one said anything?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
They won't notice. It's
okay. So 343 Industries is aiming for the Halo Ring and Halo Infinite to offer the same sense of scale and wonder as the original Halo Combat Evolved. Its world is bigger than the last 2 Halo games combined, and it's planned as a foundation for the next decade of Halo instead of releasing numbered sequels. Which, when I hear that, I'm wondering if there's going to be a lot of paid DLC, because if this is the Halo for the next 10 years of Halo, they're still going to want to make money off of that.
That's right. And, Crispy just said something. Did they even play it on the actual console? No, they played it on a PC. That's the other part, too, is you're like, what was the graphic settings on this PC that you showed us the game at, and why wouldn't you have showed us the game on the Xbox Series X?
Right.
We're very confused by this.
Very confused.
I just want to go back to what you addressed after it was said. We could. No, you will, right? There's a different phrasing there when you are intent on doing something versus maybe, and to get that vibe from this is, I think it's another one of those moments that consumers, specifically fans of the Xbox, fans of the ones that are looking forward to the Xbox Series X, and specifically Halo, could go, I'm now a little apprehensive. You could? What? You should be delivering these graphics to a higher standard. It's next gen.
It's so sketchy all around, the kind of bits and pieces we've managed to put together from this. It makes me think there's not going to be a visual upgrade. It makes me think that this will launch, and then maybe there's going to be an online patch that you're going to have to download to get newer graphics, maybe? I don't know. I'm at least glad that multiplayer is going to be available at launch. I'm kind of surprised that this wasn't really announced right off the bat. I thought that would be really cool if maybe they waited a little bit longer to do the game showcase. Maybe they added the multiplayer gameplay, emphasis on actual gameplay in there to make this, and to make this an exciting announcement. Because a lot of people found, this 8 minutes of gameplay to be a bit lackluster. If this was going to be, the shining trophy of the Xbox Game Showcase, it didn't really deliver up to that, according to a lot of consumers.
Yeah, and it's another one of those moments of damage control, it seems. It seems that they had these events, they had this plan, they put it out there, and the criticism came heavily. And it came very fast. And it also came with them needing to address things like allowing a rumor to spread that your multiplayer is not going to ship. It's great that they came out and immediately were like, that's not true. It is shipping. Great. There's a win there. But then it's also like, we all need to start getting on the same page with what are our expectations. I like Dragos' comment there of maybe he wants to keep our expectations low. That should not be the standard. It shouldn't. Even though we always should manage our own expectations. When you're putting forward a new product, specifically the next gen, what have we all looked forward to every generation cycle of consoles in the past is new graphics, some sort of new gameplay, something new in the experience that justifies this investment. And now you're sitting here going, oh, but it's actually this. Oh, but it's actually that. Oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do that. And that's just not helping at all.
It's not. And I kind of wish they put more of a spotlight on maybe the environment or how far into the distance you can see with this, because when you're going up that elevator, you know, you can see all those hills and all these kind of buildings like off in the distance, and I assume you're not going to be able to explore all of those places, but I thought that could maybe be a way that they could show that this is next gen and that's all like real in game, or something with the load times. I feel like this isn't disappointing to me. I thought it was really cool. I like this announcement, but, you know, gamers that are looking for something flashy and something next gen, they didn't get that flash, they didn't get the spectacle that I think they wanted to see, which is why this disappointed.
Yeah, and there's some moments there, like you're like, Phoenix was mentioning, doesn't this kind of remind you of the level from Combat Evolved? It should, because that's something 343 set out to do, is to make it feel like you're going back playing CE. And there was some other cool stuff with the grappling hook. And when Master Chief grabs the explosive barrel and throws it over and you can shoot it. There's things in there that you're like, oh, I haven't seen this in Halo before. And look at these new guns and all this new stuff. But then there's the other stuff that's really hard not to be paying attention to. And that's the area where I think the most consumers and gamers, especially huge fans of Halo, are like, yeah, you showed me a lot of things I'm genuinely excited about. But then I also noticed a lot of similarities, if not things that I thought were going to not be there for the next console that this is supposed to come out on.
Right.
So it's that moment, right, of having both a positive and negative experience.
This feels more of like a Halo remaster upgrade to me. I feel like it's that they're trying to keep the feel of OG Halo, and I think they've, you know, done a good job with that, but also, you know, this isn't there's some new guns and some new features, but overall it's not like, oh, this is the new overhaul, this is the new Halo. It just kind of doesn't fully deliver on that. I wonder how the story is going to be. So far I've been kind of a little confused of, you're just kind of like in a new spaceship and you land again on a Halo and you just go fight. I wonder, you know, if Cortana's gonna be in this. We haven't seen Cortana at all in the trailer or in the gameplay. Personally, that's kind of a deal breaker if there's no Cortana in Halo Infinite. So, well, I'm excited to see if they're actually going to, you know, release more about Halo Infinite, or if this was kind of, you know, all they had to show.
It also makes me wonder, too, specifically because this is supposed to be a big title for the Xbox Series X and for the success of the Xbox Series X early on. If we hear about a delay, like if we hear about some sort of, hey, you know, we need to push back when we're releasing this, we want to make sure we're pushing out Halo at its best quality possible. I mean, the graphics right here are not impressive for next gen right now. And that's just something that I sit with when I can go look at other games. Like, I can think of any time I've seen a monster face like this, and I can think of Shadow of War, right? The Lord of the Rings, Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor. The graphics of the Orokai and the orcs and the monster are amazing. And when I look at this, and I'm like, this is supposed to be next gen, I don't get that same feeling. And that's not good. You know what I mean? Like, I still sit with that. I'm hyped, but I'm not happy.
Yeah, as EG says, I'm hyped, but I'm also disappointed. I don't know what to feel. And he said Cortana comes out in the first trailer at the very end. I hope she plays a strong part of Halo Infinite and isn't just kind of there to be there. I agree. I'm hyped, but also, you know, skeptical and a little reserved.
I don't want to be. I don't. I'm a huge fan of Halo. I love the story. I, of course, loved it when Bungie was in control of it, but I think there's so much there. There's so much to do with Master Chief. There's such a great experience players can have, and it's some of the most fun, nostalgic multiplayer memories I've ever had and possess. So there's just all of that wrapped up into this, that it's I think it's just leaving us all kind of like, I'm not going to hold my breath, and I want to be holding my breath like I'm holding my breath for Cyberpunk 2077.
Right, which kind of leads us to our next news, which talks a little bit about, you know, anticipated releases and what gamers intend to buy at launch. Yeah,
so a report was done, a study was done with some research saying that over half of gamers intend to buy a next-gen console within 3 months of launch. And the PS5 is the clear favorite.
So that is a lot of gamers, and that is pretty much right at launch. And so according to new research, over half of all gamers plan to buy a next-gen console within 3 months of launch. The findings come via a wide-ranging survey of over 3,000 pop culture fans in the UK, undertaken by pop culture agency Experience 12.
So data was collected between June 25th and July 2nd through MCM Comic-Con online channels. 80% of respondents were aged between 18 and 34. 48% were from 25 to 34. 32% in the 18 to 24 category. Meanwhile, 58% were male, 38% female, and 2% non-conforming, and 1% transgender.
And I've just got to say snaps for including transgender and non-conforming into this category, because the amount of times I've seen on like forums that's like male or female, and I'm like, what about everyone else? Like, right. So that's super cool. Just wanted to point that out. When asked to choose which upcoming console they were most excited about, 84% named the PlayStation 5, compared to 15% who are most anticipating Xbox Series X.
And it is worth noting that this is perhaps an effect of Microsoft's cross-generational plan, with games being played on both current Xbox Ones and Xbox Series X's following launch, as well as Xbox's own Matt Booty, who was the one to reveal this information to us in an interview.
In terms of when they plan to buy these consoles, 37% said at launch, 9% expect to buy within a month, and 12% within 3 months, and 26% within 6 months of launch.
And given the intense hype around the game, even following its delay to November 19th, Cyberpunk 2077 is unsurprisingly the most anticipated game among those surveys. 43% of respondents said CD Projekt Red's title was the one they are most excited about, followed by Square-Enix's Marvel's Avengers at 15%.
So the top 5 most anticipated releases are Cyberpunk 2077, then Marvel's Avengers, then Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remastered, which I'm surprised made it so high up on this list.
Right?
Dying Light 2, also surprised it's number 4 on this list, and at 5 comes Halo Infinite.
That list makes sense to me, because when I actually hear that list, just in a quick side note, Cyberpunk, absolutely number 1. I am fairly excited about Avengers. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, can't wait to start playing that again. Dying Light 2 has been a game that I've been looking forward to for so long. And then Halo Infinite jumps up there, and I'm kind of like, yeah, I guess 5.
Would want to play it, but yeah, number 5, I would say.
Right.
So in terms of the current generation, the PlayStation 4 remains the preferred platform with 59% ahead of the Xbox One at 16%, PC 14%, and Switch at 8%. However, 12% of those surveyed said they had bought a Switch during lockdown. It would have been interesting to see how the Switch would have fared were it not for the supply shortage that happened, during the crisis.
Very much. And sticking on this COVID-19 note, headsets were the most acquired peripherals during lockdown at 14%. Then it followed by controllers at 10%, mouse and keyboards, and gaming chairs with 3% each.
Facebook is the most popular social media platform among those surveyed at 46%, which I'm kind of surprised to hear.
Same.
Beating Instagram at 29%, Twitter at 17% only, Snapchat at 2%, and TikTok at 1%. I don't know if this is also a cultural difference, because these were UK pop culture enthusiasts. If I were to, survey Americans, I would assume, or I would guess that, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok would be way up there. Snapchat, I think people have sometimes, they don't really use, and I think a lot of users have a Facebook, but seem to spend more time on, on Instagram and TikTok. So just really interesting to read these numbers here.
It is, but there is something there that I take away from as like my own anecdotal observation on the matter is my brother, who's a personal trainer, says most of his traction that he gets is actually through Facebook when he posts like a video or there's some sort of ad for his gym or whatever it is. And he was like, he found that really interesting was the amount of activity on Facebook was much higher everywhere else. And this kind of goes into this other part here, which is that Facebook is also where it looked like most gamers were finding out about upcoming release, with 28% utilizing the platform for news on releases. And that's slightly ahead of YouTube, which was at 25%. Twitter is used by 15% for this purpose, followed by online ads at 13%. Friend recommendations and Instagram got 3% each. And it's traditional magazines, podcasts, and TV ads were just 1% from these respondents. And speaking as traditional magazines, you have to take a look at some of the information that is coming there, and the hand-picked releases are done by just most of the staff writers in the business.
So Chad says, okay, Boomer, I was just about to say after, all that news that you just read that Facebook is where most gamers go to find out about game releases. I was going to say, Maroon, should we move our channel to Facebook? But our next bit of news says 73% of those surveyed watch live streams, with 50% choosing Twitch as their preferred platform. So we are at the right place, ahead of YouTube at 39% and Facebook Live at 8%. So interesting that Facebook Live is not where a lot of these, consumer surveyed watch live streams, but it is where they get their gaming news from. So learning about upcoming films, TV, or games was the key reason for watching live streams at 38% of respondents, followed by learning about games I'm playing at 23%, chatting and socializing at only 10%, influencer content at 8%, and games competitions at 6%. I think this is just a really interesting spread of data overall that I wouldn't have guessed. I think it's cool that, this study was done or this survey was done, because I pretty much only use Twitch to chat and socialize and network. I don't go for my news on Twitch. I'm glad that all of you watching come to Twitch for your news. And influencer content, I don't know what that means. If I'm watching a big streamer, I guess that's just watching content. I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. And there's a final part to the survey saying that they polled regarding the TV adaptations of video game IPs that gamers are most excited about. And I think this is no surprise that HBO's adaptation of The Last of Us is in first at 34%, followed by the season 2 of The Witcher coming out at 19%. People are eagerly anticipating the Uncharted movie. And then there's another 9%. This is really interesting, that say stop trying to make games into TV shows or films. And I'm actually curious, are there individuals in chat that agree with that 9%?
I think that is so funny that they're just don't do it. I'm a fan of, yes, make it all into everything if you can do a good job. There's a Fallout TV show that we talked about, the teaser coming to Amazon, I believe. Yeah. The Witcher was fantastic. I'm really excited to see, the Last of Us TV show adaptation. I think that in the past, a lot of these people who created these movies or TV shows didn't understand these games and their stories and did a horrible job. But I think now we're seeing a new era of these adaptations actually being very well done.
Yeah, you're starting to see now where it isn't just filmmakers, writers, producers coming together to execute the show and using the intellectual property without having experience. They're bringing on the writers and showrunners from the games, the game directors, and they're getting them directly involved. And they're making sure that they're there so that the vision that we saw and love as gamers translates as TV and film viewers, because that's necessary, because the people who are going to be talking about whether your show is successful or not are the original fans of the IP. We can look at Game of Thrones and see that. The people that were excited about Game of Thrones when it first came out was everyone who read the book and who was excited about seeing the books be translated to the screen. So that is very important when you're doing this. And I am hopeful to seeing more successful TV and film adaptations from video games if they keep this up.
Me too. I love Crispy's comment of, I swear I'm losing it if they make a Fortnite movie.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Speaking about, animation, we were reporting a while ago about how League of Legends was coming out with an animated series. And I think that they've kind of done, I'm not sure if this is what they meant by animated series, but they drop maybe 10-minute animations on YouTube. So it's not an official on Netflix or on TV, but it's kind of these short clips. And I think they're cool to watch as a League of Legends fan, but if someone's not into League of Legends already, I don't know how interesting that would be to them. I agree that if it's the people in suits making the movies, it's not going to turn out well. If they're just trying to look for a quick buck, it's not going to turn out well. The Sonic movie, the recent one found was very, very successful. I think that if we get more, creators that have played the games or gamers themselves, like Henry Cavill, big fan, we're going to see, great adaptations instead of just these like weird offshoots that were made just to be made. While I really like what League of Legends is doing with the animations, I kind of wanted something that was more general or more mainstream or more to, people that don't play League of Legends to actually watch it. I think would be, really cool.
Yeah, I was actually thinking what Waffle was just saying, which was the gun mug. I'm sorry, the gun mug, not the gun mug. I read gun mug. No, the anime would be pretty awesome because the aspect of saying, hey, take this really popular game that you probably couldn't see in this animation style and do it in this animation style.
Like Cyberpunk.
Would add an amazing layer to the fans' perspective of seeing some of these storylines carried out side of what you see or know of in game while being portrayed in an anime way of storytelling.
I also wonder, I didn't finish The Witcher 3 before I watched the Witcher Netflix series, but I played The Last of Us, and The Last of Us adaptation is coming out, and I'm wondering, what they're going to do with it. Is it going to go beyond the game? Is it going to be kind of a retelling of the game story? Because I've already seen the story, and I wonder how they're really going to take it. I was sitting next to a Witcher fan while watching The Witcher, and they were excited about the, different characters that came into play, and there were some, quests that I think they recognized, but overall it was still, very new, or there's a lot of backstory that they might have not seen before. So I think that, through movies or TV, it's a cool way to just have one very long cutscene is really what it is.
Agreed. And I think some of these writers, this is where it's kind of like jumping out of the whole conversation of gamers on next gen. But what you can do with next gen and TV and film is you can give these gamers who intend on investing in the next gen consoles that are going to make these, costly drops in income, costly drops in savings or in their bank account in order to be able to, achieve this or have access to this new technology. Deliver them more content, give them stories that aren't in the game that they can go and find, but they're being told via a TV show or they're being told via a film or animated as an anime. Like, give these added layers to just the overall experience. So as a gamer, you're happy with where you're at, and the storytelling that we know and love for the people who are passionate about The Last of Us, or people that are passionate about Cyberpunk story, wherever that may lie, is that we start to get this storytelling in almost like it's too much. You know what I mean? Like where it's like, you guys are just giving me too much story, slowed down, because you want people to be like talking more about it in the frenzy of these games staying in the public space, especially with next gen.
Right, and when you create a game, you're creating a whole world. I mean, I don't personally have Star Wars fatigue. Maybe some people in the chat do, but with Star Wars, there's Squadrons coming out, and there was what was that game that just came out with the story?
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yes, Fallen Order, and then there's The Mandalorian, and then there's Star Wars movies, which apparently weren't that great, but I didn't watch them. But there's all these different...
The Mandalorian is great.
The Mandalorian is great. There's so many ways to, consume Star Wars content, and it seems like, they've never really run out of ideas. I think as long as you get good writers that add to the lore, I think it's, there are some people that could never get enough Star Wars, and it's kind of like the more Star Wars, the better, and I think it's possible to keep expanding on your game universes, if the developers and the storytellers are still interested. I think a lot of these worlds are worlds that consumers really want to, stay in longer, and when they finish the game, it's kind of like, okay, what next? Like, that's all I get for this story. Like, I kind of wish it expanded further.
That's exactly right, and something that, as we jump into these stories with the next gen, and we, piggyback this data of excitement that it clearly seems people are having, is that, like to Waffle's point of just the stories in gaming have evolved so much. we're not even mentally prepared for what the stories in gaming are going to for next gen. So I think this is part of this whole conversation is leading towards this excitement, and why you have that high percentage of gamers going, I'm buying from launch within 3 months, because they are excited, because they can't wait to touch and jump into the new evolution.
It's cool new stuff. And speaking of new stuff and, next gen hardware, we actually have some pop culture news to bring to you as Media Molecule crafts a Noah Cyrus music video in Dreams.
So Dreams players have been making a lot of creative things in the PlayStation 4 sandbox. We've talked about this, from the Mario games to a recreation of Adam Jensen's Swanky Pad. Now, the biggest musicians in the world are getting in on the action, and yesterday, Noah Cyrus dropped a music video for her song July, entirely created in Dreams.
And for those of you who aren't Zoomers, Gen Z, who know about Noah Cyrus, she's Miley Cyrus's little sister, daughter of Billy Ray Cyrus, country music star. So the third installment of the Sony collaboration series teams up PlayStation, Media Molecule, and Sony music superstar Noah Cyrus with creators from all over the world to produce a revolutionary music video made entirely through Dreams for her much-loved song July.
She said this, she said, to be honest, it completely blew my mind to see what people were creating in Dreams. Being able to create your own music videos just for fun, at home with a PlayStation controller, there's just something very freeing about it.
This isn't Cyrus's first foray into the video game world. Earlier this summer, alongside Diplo and Young Thug, she hosted a concert on the main stage in Fortnite's Party Royale mode. Tangentially, in 2017, she teamed up with Marshmello, the famously masked electronic music producer who also once, hosted that big Fortnite concert. And she teamed up with Marshmello for that already. It's cool to see her bring her talents to Dreams. She said Dreams is, quote, it is a hard to explain platform, but it's creativity at your fingertips and it's a way of expressing yourself.
Yeah, it's
I
very
don't think
true.
it's hard to explain.
Well, when you say to someone, Dreams is a game that lets you create games, people immediately are like...
They might be like, eh.
Wait, what did you just say? Well, it's also, you can make music, you can make videos, if you want to make animated ideas. Yeah, I mean, it's really just a sandbox that lets you create whatever it is you want to create. Mm-hmm. And that's the moment where you see individuals go, what, like, anything I want? Are you serious? Yeah, just go to YouTube and check it out.
And on the screen right now, this is part of her music video. Looks very ethereal, sculptures, like water moving. The graphics look really good. I'm impressed.
Yeah, someone showed, we were talking about Halo before, somebody showed with Dreams, they did like a Halo Combat Evolved recreation in Dreams. Mm-hmm. And I was impressed by the graphics I was seeing in Dreams, a little bit more so than the Halo Infinite trailer. But when I see stuff like this, I'm just like, this is where what we're delivering as a user's experience for something like Dreams. Mm-hmm. No game on the next gen or no, game coming out after this should underperform. Look at what we're seeing just from a game that lets you create games.
Right. This just looks so good, and I think it opens up the possibilities for, a lot of music artists, especially, have been coming to Twitch and streaming on Twitch. I think Grimes made a music video that was just like her in like a green screen, like in her house, and we're seeing more of this, crossover between games and music artists in the streaming world. And I hope to see more content created in Dreams, like more music videos, or I could see a lot of like parody videos being created in Dreams. Maybe it's labor intensive, but it's way less labor intensive than manually creating these things yourself, and maybe less than animating things yourself. Maybe it's easier to do it in Dreams. So I'm looking forward to what new content we're going to be seeing from this game. This makes me want to buy this game right now and spend all day just making something in Dreams.
Right? Yeah, or just going and jumping in other people's dreams. This is a community that is very active, very supportive, and they're constantly on each other's side. I will say there is a community to our next story that has spoken out, and that is the esports community happens to be very angry over a Saudi partnership deal.
So this is really kind of awful news in general. It kind of goes hand in hand when we're talking about, China wanting to have an esports city, and a lot of people were saying that like, oh, that's like cool, but also is it safe for me to go there, baby?
Yeah.
So yesterday, two major European esports brands, the Counter-Strike Global Offensive Tournament organizer Blast Premier and Riot's League of Legends European Championship division, announced a sponsorship deal with Neom, a $500 billion techno city funded by Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The announcement is drawing waves of criticism from esports personalities and fans. And on the screen, I'm just gonna play. This is kind of a pitch of what Neom is on their YouTube, and it's pretty much city skylines IRL with an unlimited budget where they're just building this, you know, really extravagant city from the ground up.
So the choice to partner with bin Salman and Neom is contentious. Mohammed bin Salman has been touted by some as Saudi Arabia's progressive reformer and heavily criticized by many trusted news outlets on humanitarian crises and human rights issues.
Neom is a proposed futuristic city founded by bin Salman, which may include flying taxis, robot maids, and a giant artificial moon. Part of Neom's vision for the future includes esports. The League of Legends post announcing the partnership calls Neom a new community that will be the home and workplace for more than 1 million citizens from around the world who want to be a part of building a new model for sustainable living, working, and prospering in Saudi Arabia.
Goes on in the video, and it just seems that Neom will have at least some presence in LEC broadcasts. They were quoted as saying, Neom has their sights set on the future. And that's what's from the League of Legends post. And to help future-proof the LEC stage, they'll be sponsoring the Oracle Lens during live broadcasts, which helps players predict the next moves a team will make.
The Blast Premier announcement includes the addition of a Neom-themed map to Counter-Strike and collaboration on building an esports academy within the city.
And they went on to say that esports is the center of Neom's exciting plans for sport. This was the Blast CEO, Robbie Dewick. We're delighted to be able to assist them in shaping this long-term goal.
So to those in chat who might be like, oh, this is really cool, you know, building a city from the ground up, esports academy. So right now in Saudi Arabia, homosexuality is punishable by death. And so building an esports facility there makes me wonder what that means for maybe existing League of Legends casters or players, you know, who may be LGBTQIA+, who, what if there's a tournament there? Do they not go? It makes me really wonder, you know, what this actually means. And the announcement sparked anger from both Counter-Strike and League of Legends communities, with on-air personalities like League of Legends caster Frostpoint Is writing on Twitter, "This is disappointing because this is the LEC. It's my team, my product, my managers, my office, my family, my home. This isn't someone far away in HQ that I don't know. This is devastating because I know who made these choices and I feel silenced. I'm let down by the LEC today."
And another League of Legends caster, Daniel Dracos, also wrote, "There have been many good days to be a member of the hashtag LEC team. Today is not one of those days."
And I guess just to add, I'm not going to go too deep into all the humanitarian crises, but women were only recently allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia, and a lot of, you know, critics of bin Salman are often silenced. And it just seems like a very serious place to start a new esports collab. I encourage you all to just Google it, just do a quick Google search to, you know, read the news. But it's you know, very serious. A lot of, you know, international diplomacy issues going on.
There's
a journalist who is assassinated. Yeah. It's real bad. So as someone said, I think Riot saw the money and didn't look deeper. This makes me wonder what the future for Riot Games is. I know Riot is, you know, owned by Tencent. If they're partnering with Neom over this deal, it makes me really wonder what direction they're going. I understand that, you know, these are very wealthy investors and this is going to grow their brand, but at what cost?
Yeah, that's the part, right? This is what kind of sits with me as I hear this story and as we you know, process this information is it just looks like people saw the wealth, saw the money, and were like, I'm not going to think about maybe the innocent lives that were wrongfully taken from this earth for this money to be here. I'm just going to look at the money to be able to execute this idea. But at that point, it's like, well, you do become guilty by association. You should be well aware of the type of people that you are doing business with, or when you become aware of them, if you are, unaware, and I put that in quotes because you shouldn't be unaware if you're a business these days and you're about to take money from someone like that. We shouldn't be having this conversation, but we're having this conversation, and it's disappointing it's coming from a place like Riot.
Yeah, it honestly makes me really reconsider if I want to be playing more League of Legends and supporting Riot Games. I mean, I canceled my World of Warcraft subscription over the boycott Blizzard thing because, one player spoke about Hong Kong and Blizzard shut it down, and that was enough for me to end my subscription. And so this is, way beyond that and bigger than that. And I feel like as someone who, tries to really talk about human rights and social issues and, who's someone who tries to make the world a better place, I feel like, this is very, supporting this business is very, counteractive and, counterintuitive to that.
As a gamer first in this space of daily gaming news and, sharing information with the DGN fam, I was a gamer for a while that felt like an outcast. Usually the outcasts end up becoming a family, and then you find yourself in the gaming community and you learn that there's over 1 billion, if not more now, with the pandemic, that there's more gamers and there's more outcasts joining the family. If I were to know that my family members were being mistreated in certain regions of the world where they are considered outcasts, and some of them are being put to death for their lifestyle choices that we should just, if you disagree with, but not persecute and judge and condemn those individuals. We should be resistant to anyone who associates themselves with anyone who thinks that should be the outcome for someone who is an outcast. And that is where I sit in this moment, and I agree with the people who tweeted what they tweeted, and I hope there is a fast shift in the other direction by Riot and anyone else who is thinking about partnering with Neom, as I want to see more and more of the gaming community speak out.
Right. When I think about, gaming, it's a place for solace for a lot of people. It's a way for escape. It's a way for them to find their community and their family and to really be accepted. And I think that this is totally the opposite of that. And, as gaming gets bigger and more mainstream, that also means it's going to become more corporate. That's also going to mean that, it can be more prone to corruption because people who, maybe don't see gaming for the community and for maybe the ultimate level playing field, because you can sit with your camera off and voice chat off and play a game and be considered and equal to everyone else. Now we're kind of seeing that it's straying away from that, and I really hope that there's course correction. I hope people speak out. I hope that there's a lot of backlash or maybe at least friction to more steps like this happening. But we'll have to keep an eye out and see if there's going to be more news from this. If Neom is going to be realized, there are some reports that maybe they can't actually have made robots around the whole city, or maybe they can't actually have an artificial moon in there. So we'll see if the project gets completed. We'll see if this actually takes any steps, because as of right now, I don't think the city is really built at all, and so you can't have an esports academy if there's no city to have an esports academy in. So this might be far in the future, but we will be, keeping an eye out for it.
But on some lighter news, we're going to talk about a game that some of us are excited for, because I think there's a bright future ahead with Marvel's Avengers, as it was revealed that Hawkeye will be an available character, and he's going to have his own story separate from the main campaign.
Marvel's Avengers has already confirmed a pretty solid lineup of playable characters, including Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Captain America, Black Widow, and Miss Marvel. But this isn't the end. Today, in a new Avenger War Table stream, Crystal Dynamics reveals the game's first free post-launch hero, Hawkeye. The fan-favorite archer will come with his own set of story missions separate from the main campaign, which will be playable solo or co-op. So let's take a quick look at the Hawkeye trailer.
Let's check it out. I haven't watched this yet.
To any surviving Avengers, should we lose the fight ahead of us?
Let's turn on captions. Oh, we can't. Just kidding.
Should everything be lost, then know this. The key to saving our future lies in the past.
Deep.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that explains the shock arrow
He's so coy.
and the sea of emotions.
I think there's more.
You
Yeah.
asked for him.
I think they
and
go
we're
into show a little
thrilled to
bit
bring
of,
him to you. When we started working on Hawkeye, the
What's that?
first thing we did was find the best comics and pull ideas that would fit into our post-A-Day universe. One of our favorite runs is writer Matt Fraction and artist David Aja's My Life as a Weapon, and we've taken some exciting ideas from it. So much so that Hawkeye has his own in-depth story mission chain, and it is
I think it's
unique
really
from the
cool that
main
he has his own
campaign because
story.
it can be played in co-op or solo, whichever you prefer.
Agreed. Completely.
Hawkeye is your first look at how the expanding world of Marvel's Avengers continues to grow after launch.
Oh. And that's it. The video cut off really abruptly. It like ended
It
the
did.
second the last word ended.
Yeah, I think during the event they were doing the whole like, we're moving through. This is all we're going to show you.
Oh, that makes
information.
more sense.
And you know, I agree with what Crispy was saying there. He's pretty badass when you break down Hawkeye's abilities and his technology. It does feel a little underwhelming. However, Marvel's version of Hawkeye will actually be heavily inspired by the critically acclaimed Matt Fraction David Aja comic book run from 2012 to 2015.
They said you asked for him and we're thrilled to bring him to you. When we started working on Hawkeye, the first thing we did was find the best comics and pull ideas that would best fit into our post-A-Day universe. One of our favorite runs is writer Matt Fraction and artist David Aja's My Life as a Weapon, and we've taken some exciting ideas from it.
So in addition to Hawkeye, Crystal Dynamics also hinted 3 more post-launch characters are on their way to Marvel's Avengers. Who those additional heroes might be is unknown, but we do suspect that the game will stick to the characters that we've seen in the MCU. So names like Ant-Man, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Doctor Strange are most likely to be seen.
Some new details about the upcoming Marvel's Avengers beta have also been revealed. Players will get a chance to try out 4 heroes: Iron Man, Hulk, Black Widow, and Miss Marvel. The game's prologue, 2 additional story missions, and a variety of co-op challenges will be included.
And as it was previously announced, the beta will run throughout August with different start dates depending on what platform you're playing on. So, and that's whether or not you've pre-ordered. As August 7th, as PlayStation 4, pre-order beta access is when that begins. Xbox One and PC pre-order access begins on August 14th, while the PS4 open beta starts then, and then August 21st is the open beta across all platforms.
Marvel's Avengers will arrive on PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4 on September 4th. The game is also coming to Xbox Series X and PS5. Are you more excited now that, Hawkeye is on the way, or were you already hyped with the original lineup, and what new characters would you like to see?
I am hyped already just because seeing this game and hearing it and them showing it off and it looking the way that it does and knowing what is to be expected. I think the continuation of the hype train will grow the more characters they reveal are coming out.
Yes.
So now that we have Hawkeye, your brain immediately is like, okay, who's the other 2 that are coming out, or the other 3? Who else is going to be released in 6 months? Who's going to be released in a year? What's the roster going to be like at some point? How many combinations am I going to be able to have with my friends playing the co-op modes? And then when the online mode drops, I mean, it's just, there's so much here that I think Crystal Dynamics is doing right with doing these like slow steps of reveal.
Me too. I think it's cool that, they announced a new character similarly to how, like, Valorant announced a new champion, but the difference
Yeah.
is this game isn't out yet. Like, Marvel's Avengers, is coming in September. I think it's a cool way to, keep up the hype, to keep us guessing, what's the next character going to be. I personally would really like to see Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and
Yeah.
they didn't mention the Wasp in, what's been announced or speculated on, but I'm a fan of the Wasp.
I am too, and I'm actually excited to see if it's pulled off. If they pull off Ant-Man,
Yes, I
that's
wonder
gonna
how they're
blow
gonna
my
do that.
mind. If you get to play as Ant-Man, both big and small, if that works, I think that's going to be one of those moments of like, yeah, I can't wait to play this as giant Ant-Man or super tiny Ant-Man.
It would be super impressive to see if they can pull that off. I think that would be like the like an ultimate like showcase of next gen, to be able to scale up the whole world or scale it down as you transform, and how they're actually going to address that.
Yeah, same here. I mean, can you imagine if you're playing as Hulk and your friend is Ant-Man, and you can see their little tiny figure over like a username, so they're tiny running around while you're jumping around,
so they're there,
destroying stuff like that. That moment would be just so powerful, to be like, we're here. Like, this is where we're at with gaming. We've made it to this place. This is just there. I was never expecting to be here, but wanting to be here, and now we're here.
This game looks so hype. It's no surprise that, this is in the forefront of a lot of gamers' mind when they're talking about, next gen and what games they're really looking forward to. I think I have high hopes that this game is going to deliver right at launch. It seems like it's been really well designed, well thought out, with all the different missions you can do and all the characters you can play as, and how you can upgrade different characters, as you want to your play style. As we said before, like, my Hulk might be different from Maroon's Hulk. In fact, it's probably going to be different because we're going to upgrade it differently. We're going to customize them differently. And there's so many avenues you can take with this game.
I cannot wait to be playing this. I'm looking forward to the beta. I do want to play it on both the PlayStation 4 and PC to kind of get a gauge on which one, I'm feeling, just control-wise or whatever.
Right.
But for PlayStation 5, this is going to be one of those games that I will definitely want to have for that console, to see what that console delivers in that experience.
I think so too. Did you want to zoom through the next story? Do you think we've got time for it?
I actually think we could probably end on this story.
All right.
Yeah, because this is a really cool one, as we should be expecting to see more of these, especially with where we're seeing technology going, as there's a game, a virtual reality shooter called Frostpoint. It is a AAA title that is a multiplayer PvPvE experience from inXile Entertainment.
And this is inXile's second foray in the VR market after 2017's The Mage's Tale.
So targeting a 2020 launch on the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and the Valve Index headsets, it will be published by a Japanese company, Third Verse, even though inXile has been owned by Microsoft for almost 2 years now.
Brian Fargo, founder and studio of inXile Entertainment, said, "I've been enamored with VR since the early days and have had some of my finest gaming memories with a VR headset on. We've created an immersive new world with Frostpoint VR and dialed up the intensity with 20-plus player matches. It will be a thrill for us to watch people step into the world and battle it out."
Kiyoshi Shin, co-founder of Third Verse Inc., said, "The world in Frostpoint VR Proving Grounds is vast and the action is dense. We want players to be challenged to experiment and find the right combinations of gear and weapons to survive and level up their characters to be effective in this punishing yet highly enjoyable game. We are looking forward to seeing how audiences respond to Frostpoint VR Proving Grounds gameplay in the next several months."
And we have a quick 1-minute trailer to show you. Looks intense already. Jeez.
Saw them rounding the building.
Coming out the gate.
Right side. Left.
This is like the Warzone font. I like that font.
It totally is. Three-player PvP.
Push B.
On my way.
AK-47, P90. Wow.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a future kind of weapon. Teammates can throw guns to each other. Oh my god.
Very cool.
And then monsters pop up on the map that you gotta deal with it.
Shield.
This is cool.
Frag out. Not good. Watch out. Not good. Wait, take cover.
Wow.
This game looks sick.
It really does. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. So just to jump through this information, this is what we know of. That it is a 20-player team-based multiplayer shooter. You have two sides against each other in a high-intensity PvE game, and then it has a unique PvE twist.
It's set in an abandoned military base in Antarctica. Each team will need to gear up and set out to dominate the opposing team while protecting themselves from terrifying biomechanical creatures.
So it has players matched in 10v10 10v10 teams, and they have to coordinate their tactics through approach, strategy, and gear to dominate the enemy team through beautiful maps and engaging game modes like capture and control.
Teams will fight for control of a forgotten military base in Antarctica where other players aren't the only enemy. Gear up and charge forward to deal with the opposing team and protect yourself from the constant otherworldly biomechanical threat.
And regarding the highly detailed weapons that we saw, there are over a dozen rifles and pistols that have been recreated painstakingly in detail, allowing you to realistically hold with either one or two hands, load, rack, fire, clear, as well as change firing modes. There's tools and munitions to help round out your arsenal, including grenades, health kits, armor upgrades, turrets, and tracking.
I was wondering how long it would take for us to get games like this in VR,
Right?
and it's here.
God,
It's here. It's happened.
Right around the corner. And this is something that is so cool to me. I get excited when seeing this, is because this is another one of those moments as we look at virtual reality and we go, what is it going to do that mimics console gaming and PC gaming that we know of that hasn't translated to virtual reality yet? And it's literally here in Frostpoint.
It's here. It is super cool to see. These 10v10 matches are going to be huge. I wonder how long they're going to take. At least they look really fun right off the bat.
Yeah, going from fighting a person and then realizing there's a PvE monster nearby that you have to deal with as well. That intensity alone, and having that in VR, you've got to rack the weapon, load. Also, hey, I'm out of ammo. You got to throw your gun to your teammate because maybe you have another gun on you. Just all of those variables that are there, armor upgrades, all of that. So exciting. Can't wait to see the gameplay.
I really hope this game takes off. I want to get into this. I want to, be on a whole team, getting into this game.
Good.
I really hope it takes off. But that does bring us to the end of our gaming news show for today.
Yeah, we made it. But make sure you tune in tomorrow because we're going to be having another conversation about something virtual reality related, which is that it looks like, and no surprise, Resident Evil's Village will get a virtual reality version.
So make sure that you tune in tomorrow for that news, as well as an opinion, kind of an opinion piece. There was an analysis done that shows that we don't really need E3 anymore. So we're going to be talking about, do we really need E3? Is it just because, the pandemic has helped bolster, gaming news take off more? Or do we actually not really need E3 again in the future? So stop by tomorrow. We'll be live 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific time, as always, every weekday to touch on those topics and much more.
Thank you, DGN fam, for being here with us, adding amazing layers of conversation in chat. Thank you for liking, subscribing, following us both here on Twitch and over on YouTube. We genuinely appreciate it. We can't do it without you, DGN fam.
Thank you so much. We'll be playing some reruns of this episode if you came in right at the end, and yesterday's episode if you missed it. As always, you can watch our VODs on our Twitch page or YouTube, and if you're watching a VOD, again, we are live every weekday. But that is all we have for today. So I am Kaisa.
I am Marone. We will see you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.